Hey everyone, my name is Matt Anderson, coming to you here today just to touch on the topic of buying a business versus starting a business. What's the difference? One's a complete package, ready to go box, and one is starting from concept, right? So, what's the difference? Is it better to do one over the other? Really, after all is said and done, it's probably opinion. Just so you know, my opinion's skewed in the sense that I'm biased and I'm all for buying the business. Let me tell you a little bit about what my team does, what I've done, and where my background is first to get me to where I am, and how we can help you get to the same place, if not beyond. And so, going to these different areas, I'm working and doing everything from farm to shelf and everywhere in between with the manufacturing and the supply chain. And I did that on a corporate level for a while, and then I went out on my own as a broker, and then I decided as a broker, well, it's pretty cutthroat, and that's just not my style. And so what I decided at that point is I need to be the farm. I need to be the individual that decides who I want to work with, right? And so I had consulted a little while back for a gentleman in Costa Rica on a noni farm. And he was at the point where he was ready to go on to the next chapter of his life, spend more time with his family and his grandkids. A very successful gentleman, a lot of irons in the fire here in the States and internationally, but it consumed his time. And as we know, time is our most important asset. And if we can control that time, it really redefines your thinking and a paradigm of what can be done in your personal life, and it's amazing. And so, to get back on the subject here regarding this gentleman, is we started going through this acquisition process, and through this process, I'm seeking out ideas from different mentors of, hey, am I doing this right? Is there a better way? And as I'm learning this, COVID hits. And it locks down all the imports, but more importantly, it locked down all the exports in Costa Rica. And that was 95% of this business for the noni farm was exports. And so we put things on hold and we said, hey, let's wait to see how things shake out. So, unfortunately, things still haven't gotten better for the farm. And so it was a blessing in disguise for me, or a tender mercy, or however you want to put that, or just sheer luck. But I am grateful for that experience, because not only did it save me from getting into a possible business that could have been headed downward very quickly, but it also helped me realize there's a lot more out there to buy than just a noni farm in Costa Rica. As appealing as it was, there's a lot out there. And so as I'm learning this, I'm learning that it's a numbers game, right? And I need to get in front of business owners to do this. And not just business owners that want to sell and not necessarily motivated to sell, but it's a lot of them consistently, right? Anyways, we're getting into this too deep and going down a rabbit hole here. So I want to get back to buying a business versus starting up a business, okay? So I'm gonna throw something up here on the screen for you right now, and I just want you to take a look at this. Acquisition versus startup. So look at the cash invested, same cash, right? $50,000 across the board. Now let's leverage that funding, okay? So you have $950,000 leverage for the acquisition and about $165,000 for the startup, okay? Valuation. Here's where the differences start to get a little bit bigger. $1 million, and then for the startup, almost just under $200,000, right? Profit margin's the same, 10%. But what's the 10% profit margin on a valued business of $1 million versus a $200,000 valued startup, right? So you can see that the SDE here, the EBITDA is $375,000 on average for an acquisition versus a $71,000 average for a startup. Now, here's Here's the amazing part. Risk of failure. On average, only 2% of acquisitions fail. 2%. And on average, 90% of startups fail. That just blows your mind. Okay, why is that? Right? Acquisitions, you're going into a business in a box that's already set up. Employees are trained. You think of the man hours that go into that. You already have profit from day one. Okay, you have instant contacts, you have a system, you have SOPs, and the list goes on and on. Where a startup, you're putting all your time into these things that aren't actually necessarily moving that needle each and every day. Where you have these big businesses, so a Coca-Cola comes in and they purchase a Sprite or a Minute Maid and they tack that onto their arsenal and then they keep moving forward. Where a startup is stuck in that moment of getting all these other things together to move to that next level. Does that make sense? So yes, I totally endorse buying a business. Buying a business is huge. Now, how do you find that right business? What type of business do you want? You know, how much money do you want it to be making? The gross annual recurring revenue versus what's coming out and what's left over to take home, right? What does that cash flow look like? Here's a simple exercise I like to do. So when I'm talking to people about this, and I'll just end on this note, is you ask them, what does your dream lifestyle look like? Imagine it. Close your eyes and imagine that, okay? And as your eyes are closed, imagine what your backyard looks like, what your home looks like, what does your week look like? Are you with a family? Are you a bachelor, or a bachelorette, I guess, not leaving the women out. And what does that look like? What do you want to do? How are your interactions? Now, for the materialistic side of things, how much does that cost per month? Okay. Now let's just keep it simple. Let's say it's $15,000 a month. Okay, to keep this lifestyle going, to be comfortable and to really enjoy that lifestyle. Okay, so $15,000 a month. Okay, go with the mindset of, instead of how do I make $15,000 a month to uphold this lifestyle that I want, that I am craving, or that maybe you already have. And you're working like a dog to keep the lifestyle up, right? In a 9-to-5 job, which means just over broke, right? So how do you make $15,000 a month to keep this lifestyle going, or to create this lifestyle? Instead of that mindset, fine tune it a little bit, change that paradigm, and ask yourself, where can I buy a business that'll afford me $15,000 a month, that will give me $15,000 a month to keep this lifestyle? Now let's take it up one notch more. How can I buy or acquire or purchase this business with as least money down as possible out of my own pocket, without having to be in the business running things the day-to-day, as least as possible, to have that $15,000 on a monthly basis? So think about it here. We're freeing up your time. That's what we're really doing. We're time savers. That's what we do. That's what my team and I do, is we save time. If you can outsource it, or if you can give the task to someone else that's duplicatable, do it. Some people are like, well, I don't do it that well. Do it. What we want to do here is we want to help you find these businesses. Without deal flow, you're dead. It's just, all of this is just a great idea, and it's fun to talk about. But it's even more fun to act and to go through the experience and go through the process. But it's all dead without deal flow. And that's the number one issue in this game. So how do you find deals? How can you find those deals? So I'm going to talk about that in our next segment, and I'm going to really, really dive deep. But I'm diving deep on a lot of different levels. I mean, it could be as simple as calling that owner, right? But how long does it take to dial, call, assuming that you actually get the owner on the phone and it's not a gatekeeper, secretary, another person that is simply an employee, and they're not paid to make the decisions of whether you should be able to talk to that owner or not, right? Please connect with us, and we'll talk to you here. But we're signing out. As I said before, we are time savers, and that's what we do.